Remix. 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 Remix.
Oh, yeah. I'm rough and tough and all that stuff. I'm making dance and prance till you huff and puff. There's just no way you can get enough of me. Yo, Mr. Big Star. What's good, everybody? Welcome out to another Boom Bap Breakfast as we get y'all ready for this week. I am the Ear Doctor, and this is Black Liberation Media, and this is the Remix Morning Show. Now, let me go call up my bro. You know who he is. He goes by the name of Dr. Jared Ball. Who do you think you are?
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Man, Heavy D was the man. Listen.
He really was. It's a shame. Rest in peace for sure.
Till he got too. I felt like he was getting too commercial, or it was the hardcore music was coming in. We was like, man, nobody trying to listen to that dancing and romance, and maybe that's
that
what
is
happened.
true. I mean, I remember that shift and feeling a little bit like that myself, even but
Yeah.
but now when I hear either that or with Aaron Hall and all that, I was like, yeah, that's that was pretty hot. I'm as good as could be expected, man.
Seemed like you had a pretty dope show yesterday.
I had a good time. Yeah, it was a good time, and Shaka Raz is fierce, and so that discussion was very good. I look forward to building with him again soon, and the chat seemed to love it. I caught up a little bit with the chat.
Any shots? You had a good time, or it was nice? They played nice with you?
With me more or less, but there was there's always something going on in the chat. And FD Signifier showed up.
Wow.
And he might be coming around Saturdays.
Okay.
He might be on. There might be a Patreon special happening Thursday with the Saturdays crew that he might be part of.
Okay. Saturdays with Renee you're talking about.
Yeah. Because they had a little disagreement. The chat
Imagine that.
Imagine that. Imagine that. Look at
Oh no. Wow.
Yeah.
See, yeah, he gotta come back and defend himself. I already know how it is.
I mean, and he's what I do. I admit I've always, even for people like Cornel West from back in the day when he sat down with John Henrik Clarke, like I've always had I'm a little bit of a sucker for it. If people are willing to engage their left, I'm not. I'm less mad, and I think so I think FD is all right with me for that, but there's just disagreement where there's disagreement. And I also just in general, for the most part, don't think disagreement needs to be hostile either.
Nah, it shouldn't. That's how you come up with different ideas and different ways of perspectives and seeing stuff different ways. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
Everybody agreeing. Like that's like me agreeing with you all the time. Who wants that?
Defending the indefensible. I'm so left-wing politics guy, but vote Kamala. I mean, I get it. And again, that is it. I wouldn't say indefensible position. It's just it's indefensible. I was going to say you could put up a defense. It's just a weak defense. I don't know, but it's just indefensible. I'm just but nah. I'm
I mean,
yeah.
That's the whole debate. Even with me and Kamal, it's just like, yo, why are we continue to support the empire by even doing it, by even doing the vote? And then some would be like, well, you should still vote even if it's not for the two right and the left. So it's really up to
There
the
are
person.
tactics to it. I think that again, most people that end up voting for the Democrat are not doing it with the same level of tactics that they claim.
Mm.
I think, and my biggest issue is the hostility that people show again to their left. And I haven't seen all of his recent stuff on it, but we did talk briefly the other day. I don't get from FD that he's hostile
Mm.
to those on his left, and he's willing to engage. And in that regard, I'm we just have respectful disagreement. But so yeah, it's just that but it's usually that hostility that that condescending condemnation of the left that gets me animated more than
It's usually when the person starts losing is when they start getting a little hostile, mad, and start throwing shots and stuff like that. When they can't defend it anymore, and they like, well, you know what? So that's when I know. That's when I know I got somebody on the ropes. That's why I don't lose too much, because I might not even know what I'm talking about, but I know how to, get people off.
Well, sometimes though, sometimes it's not that they're and yes, he did call. We did speak. FD and I did speak. But it's I hear what you're saying, but as one who often is the animated one, the issue isn't the inability to argue. It's that there's a certain seriousness brought to the issue. And when it's just dismissed without evidence and calmly, it can be frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think yeah. But you're right. No, the name calling and all that stuff and all that,
Yeah, I got to chill out this weekend. Didn't do much. Got to pop up and pop on Black Liberation Media. Do a couple.
I saw that, man. I jumped in. I had.
I see you.
Matt Capitalism was doing, or one of them. Matt Capitalism had a live on, and I was watching that. Had you on mixing in the background. So I had a whole setup over here, but it was dope. I was like, I saw the live alert. I said, I'll be honest with you. The first thought I had was,
oh shit. It's like, damn, here he go.
No, I didn't know who it was.
Oh,
I saw a live alert. It was like, because I just assumed, oh shit, somebody went on there. It just
yeah, no gigs this weekend, man. I just got to hang out with my daughter and chill out. And other than that, popped on and just did a couple mixes and got to enjoy the house. We don't think we enjoy our house enough. We always ready to get out and go somewhere. But I enjoyed it.
So that's what I'm on. So my oldest was home this weekend, which is dope.
Oh, big up.
She was home this weekend and actually stayed in the house.
What?
Yeah. So that was dope.
Because that's funny. As soon as they get back home, I remember when my sister got back home from college, as soon as it was back to the streets. She was going to see her friends, get niced and everything.
Yeah, I know. So that was
I know.
That was good. And but I've been saying the same thing. My wife wants to go everywhere. And my thing is, I'd rather take that money and fix up the house and make it super duper fly.
Right.
That's what I'm on. Let's stay here and really hook it up.
Yo, because you go pay for a hotel. So only thing you don't have is water. That's it. Other than that, you can have your jacuzzi in the back. You can have your fire pit in the back. You can have your game room. You can have, your chef some stuff up. Man, please. It's like, and then have some people over, have a little car party and kick them out because it's your spot. Listen, y'all got to leave. You know what I mean? Come on, man. That's what it is. The older we get, see, with the younger, we was trying to be in the street all the time. Now,
yeah.
It's like, yo, come on through. We can control everything. You ain't got to pay for parking. You ain't got to pay to get in. You ain't got to walk the long distance. Just through the driveway. That's it. It's beautiful.
That's what I'm on. I'm, no lines, no crowds, no tight seats, you know what I mean? Just,
Ladies, help me out. Is it about you wanting to show off that nice dress? Or just, I don't know. Maybe some people work at home all the time.
We can get dressed up. I'll get dressed up. We can, the music's always better at my house.
It
The
is.
drink's always better at my house. You know what I'm saying? It's just always better. It's just,
Man,
but
I got the lights and everything. I can make a party at my house. Hey, ladies. What was Isabel starting up already?
I
my
mean,
goodness.
yeah.
Y'all know me, Mr.
Right.
Big money on dates. Bring them to the crib. Stop playing.
It's not even
Anyway.
for me, it's not even about that anymore. It's just
Yeah, it
about I just don't want to go anywhere. It's just the hassle to get everywhere.
And controlling your environment, because that was always the thing. If I don't want to get too intoxicated and be out, I'd rather be intoxicated and fall asleep on my couch. That's just what it is. Especially if it's anything other than the trees. You know what I mean?
And
big
you
up
know
to
what?
What up?
No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say big up to my people. We had a Black Lab tour in South Carolina, and one brother came out and he was like one of the big political guys, and he my brother Mauli Davis said, "What would you be watching and reading?" He's like, "The Remix Morning Show." So big up to that brother in South Carolina. Don't know your name off top, but heard you watch the show. Big up to you. He's like Ear Doctors Global. I was like, oh shit, global.
Look at you. Look at him thinking about it. I'm out here. Look at I'm outside for real.
Yeah. So we got Kim Brown coming up. We got Kamal Franklin dropping off the kids. So we got a whole dope show for y'all in case y'all don't know. And yeah. It is,
Erica got us nice with the stories too. And quickly, we had I've never done this before, but we had our first watch along football game watch along this weekend with the football crew watching Arsenal play Chelsea, and had a really good time with that. And then Mutanda, one of the four that hang out with us, shared he shared his political side and dropped this piece.
DR Congo.
For those whose hands they cut, a post-election reflection on genocide and liberal discourse. So I'm gonna drop this in the chat and invite people to check it out. But shout out to him. He said, y'all said shut up and dribble. Y'all said shut up and dribble. I dropped political gems on them.
Speaking about dropping political gems, let's give it up for Kim.
Now say.
What was that off Bugs Bunny?
Yes.
Yes. Was.
Where are those Warner Brothers, those Looney Tunes?
Yes.
Yo, I bet you those Looney. I know they don't hold up. I'm sure they're all kinds of,
See, it looks like you got your wire fixed, huh?
See. Oh no. Yes, I did get my. My wire wasn't broke. I was over here doing something errand.
Thank you.
So that's
you.
what happened. So thank you all.
Mm-hmm.
Good morning. How's everybody feeling?
Very good. Very good. Yeah. And yes, that was Bugs Bunny's Edward G. Robinson imitation. Look at the chat.
Look at they old as hell.
Old as hell.
What's your demographics? Old as hell. Downwards.
And they did all of those, Bugs Bunny, all of them all had all of that Dixie, blackface.
Yeah, especially when that pie blew up in their face, and their whole face was
well,
black
that too, but like actual blackface, like actual putting on singing "Mammy" and
"Mammy." That was the frog.
Hello, my lady. Hello, my darling. Hello, my ragtime gal.
Yo, big up to everybody that tuned in for Classical Breakdown. We did it up with Quincy Jones. It was real nice rabbit hole. So you had to go to Patreon to check that out.
I was about to say YouTube has confiscated our classical breakdown.
Yes.
They came and snatched it.
And it must have been quick though, because he only had like 2-3 songs. So I know it was like a quick, short, short thing.
Did you know that he did the theme song for Pink Panther, Jared?
Yeah, I did. No, because I paid attention, and I'm joking off of the fact that Kim had announced that there was like 700 Wikipedia pages of his music.
Oh yeah,
It was ridiculous.
It's
I had
a
to
lot.
put the phone down. I said, no.
Yeah. We're gonna have to do a part 2. I already
Yes,
did.
we are going to have to do a part 2. Oh, shout out to the good folks at WPFW. They did an amazing hours upon hours of Quincy Jones tributes. DJ Lance Reynolds did some. What's the dude's name who does Roots and Fruits? It's on PFW's archives. I highly recommend. Highly recommend.
Yeah, it was a lot of dope mixes for Quincy this past weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh, I'm sure
yeah,
they did it up. The folks at PFW know the music very well. For
Yeah.
sure.
It's always a class for me. You know what I'm saying? All I do is listen to PFW and Shazam. That's all I do.
I'm just the fact that he touched so many different genres is just amazing to me. I
But with
mean,
hits though, you feel me?
yeah, from
Like,
55 all the way to the 2000s, ridiculous.
mm-hmm.
That's over 50 something years of 60, 70 years of music.
I want
Whew.
somebody to recapture Quincy Jones's tweets when he was putting all of his dead homies on blast. I'm like, that needs to be a book in itself
Oh
because
yeah.
I want the elders to snitch, tell all the stories. I want to know how y'all was out here doing debaucherous things in your youth. You know what I'm saying? People think they look at elders and like, oh, that's my granny or my pop. He wasn't out here whoring. He was though. I mean, you should know the fun and the exploits that the elders used to have. So I want the elders to tell the stories.
All right. So this
And you
Thursday,
know what?
okay.
Oh, my bad. Go ahead.
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
No,
I
you
was just
good.
going to say I want the academic version of that too. I want them conference stories. What was y'all
Oh,
really doing? Because
yeah. See,
you know,
yo,
I heard
well,
some stories.
I
with
bet. I mean, I can
the
imagine. I mean,
academic version.
he was the man. Everybody wanted to go see him, go hang out in the studio. I can imagine all this stuff. But like I said, we don't know, so we're gonna let him live. Well, you know what I mean. Anyway, we're gonna do
Things. Go
Stevie
find his
Wonder.
old tweets.
We gonna do Stevie Wonder in the 70s this Thursday.
Another short one. Y'all keep picking people that don't. It's like it's
That's
just
why
going
we
to take 5 minutes.
that's why we
You
only
gotta,
went to the 70s.
you got to
Like
get people with stronger catalogs.
what
Quincy Jones, Stevie Wonder.
what's your favorite Stevie album, Jared?
Man, honestly, I don't know off the man. Songs in the
Mm,
Key of Life, obviously,
that's it.
I could just throw that out there. But I would need to get a refresher on where all of the songs are. I mean, there's just so many. I just
Yeah.
need can I just have a greatest hits, like 7 greatest hits albums
Woo.
as my bet? My favorite Stevie Wonder is 18 greatest hit CDs.
Right.
You know what the funny thing is? Like, if you was ever to look at a complete song that has everything, you would have to play As. Like a song that goes from singing low, singing high, getting excited, even a little rhyme into it. Everything is in that one song, and just how the beat, man, As crescendos, everything. Mm, mm,
I
mm.
can I will share some hate and sacrifice myself on the altar of the
Oh
Remix Morning
no.
Show.
Easy. Watch it.
I know.
Tread
The
lightly.
one thing I wish Stevie would have done more of is, as good as he was, I wish he would have let other people drum on his tracks. I wish
Hmm.
he would have hired out a couple drummers and I know it's got to be tempting when you're that good and can do everything, but I do wish he would have let a couple others dabble on some of those tracks.
Mm.
I do.
I would have to
I
listen to it to even know that.
See, I'm
Like
gonna have to
you're a
pull
drummer, so you're like
off and look
yeah,
at the liner notes.
talking
Because
book.
I mean, Stevie drummed on all of his joints.
not
No.
all of them, but like some of the like Superstition, and there's a couple of the like, and you know there's a couple of them that he did, but
Well, I'll
you
tell you
know
who's not blind to the music. Come out, Kate Franklin.
Exactly. What
that's
is there a hip hop question or something?
we're lying already. You're
There's
not
something
lying. It's way
historical,
too early.
jazz, blues, something on the go-go. Y'all want me to
Kim,
speak about
Kim,
the
was I
go-go?
wrong?
Let's speak on the go-go. What y'all need me to speak on?
Stevie
The
Wonder,
no.
your thoughts. Stevie Wonder, your
Evening?
thoughts.
one of the top 5 greatest musicians that's ever lived. Category, well, I think his
wish I was-
musicality, his voice, his ability to play instruments, all while not seeing a goddamn thing, is extremely incredible. If he could see,
He
he
could
would
see, though.
still be at the top 5. But the fact that he can't, I mean, it's almost like he should be number 1 just because of that. Like he's dealing with an extremely important sensory deprivation issue without having sight, and he can still do everything he does and other musicians can't.
I think that's his superpower, not being able to see, being able to imagine, being able to come up with your
I'm sure
own
he'd never
thoughts.
be able to see
You know what I
that.
mean? You don't have to. That's just like when you play like jazz music. You don't have to listen to the vocals. You can come up with your own thoughts while the music's playing. So with him, he don't have to see all this craziness. He could just imagine by hearing and then making his own, making colors, music.
I mean, he
and
might.
sound.
Yeah, I mean, you might be right. Like he might. He might not be Stevie Wonder if he. You know what I mean? Like he
If he
could have
could,
chose.
yeah.
Could have chose the wrong drug, the wrong whatever. He could have saw and decided to go pop because then he knew what white life was like. I don't know. He might have liked white women if he could see. You know how they do like
Oh
musicians.
my God.
What do you say? Niggas act like Stevie is a musical daredevil.
Yeah, all this stuff
He
could happen,
is.
You know what I'm saying? He is. That's right. He is. All that could
Exactly.
have happened if he had sight. He could have fell off a
Fine.
cliff.
We don't know what Stevie can see and what he can't see. Just because he is blind does not mean he sees black. I just
That's a
want
good
to put
point.
that out there.
Because he caught that mic stand.
He damn sure did.
You
He
see
can
Mike
a little bit.
Stan.
He can see a
You
little
didn't
bit.
see that clip?
Yeah.
No.
It was like one of his most viral clips.
And everybody's like, wait a minute.
Conspiracy. It just looks very odd. Somebody's walking by him and trips over a microphone stand. The mic stand starts to fall and Stevie catches it.
Mhm.
So it is like, it is daredevilish. But to
Yeah.
Kim's point, you don't
By the
know
way, does
what
not
it's-
make him not blind either.
Right.
Right.
That's right. That's
So
right.
Do you
So-
think he's been tricking us all these years?
No.
That's what the
Mm-mm.
ableists think, Kamau. That's exactly what they think. There's a
See.
hashtag called Stevie is blind. Go on
There
X,
is,
look it
yeah.
up. Stevie ain't blind, rather, is the hashtag. And I find it reprehensible because it just tells me the limitations that the society puts on disabled folks. Just because you think he shouldn't be able to catch the mic stand, and all of a sudden when he does, oh, he must not be blind. I guess he's been faking this whole time. No, you don't know the range of abilities that disabled people have.
Yeah, I think that's the confusion that we don't know. You know what I mean? So we don't know. So we're assuming that he's totally blind. Some assume he's not all the way blind. And that's an
Has
assumption
Stevie
because we
ever
don't know.
described what he thinks what he sees or his perceptions? Is it like colors
That's a
or
good question.
shapes?
I don't know.
You should
To
look for
my
that. engineer.
awareness, I don't think Stevie's talked in depth about what he can see and what he can't see.
Hmm.
The way he went blind was when he was born. He wasn't born blind, but there was an incident or an issue when he was in the incubator or whatever. He got something about too much oxygen and it caused his retinas to detach.
Oh my God.
So he wasn't born blind, and I don't
Hmm.
know to what extent. I don't know what Stevie can and can't see, but I don't assume that sees black because again, he does things that lets me know that he's at least partially sighted. But you don't want to get in the car with Stevie just because he can catch the fucking mic stand.
See,
You
Ricky,
don't want Stevie to give you a ride. You know what I'm saying?
Kim, let me read what's on the screen by Ricky Ryan. I would think the folks who walk Kim into a door would be quiet during the segment.
Oh, wow.
I mean, we can get into it, Ricky. We can talk about it. You know what I'm saying?
Why Ricky always starting shit when she ain't on screen? When she come on screen, it's all about news.
No. She just pointed something out. That's all. You know.
Did she?
Ah.
Did
I
she?
mean,
Starting shit.
Did it happen?
I
Did it
can
not
say
happen?
whatever I want to say, Ricky Ryan. No, I ain't gonna start. She got me started. Anyway,
What did you just say
One.
5 minutes ago about not getting animated when you get into an argument? Some shit about
exactly. That's why I breathed, and you know, I ain't gonna
That's
let her take
funny,
me out of
though.
my zone. You know what I mean?
Bro.
I had to say after you bumped me into the door.
Oh, here
I
we
ain't
go.
gonna let ear doctor. I ain't gonna let ear doctor take me out of my zone out here. Even though I told this nigga. Even though I told this nigga.
I even begged her. I was like, I got you, Kim. I got you. Come on.
Hey. And it was a good lesson though. I hope everybody understands. Just because you yourself may be abled does not make you equipped to deal or handle disabled folks.
I had to learn a lesson. Thank you for that lesson. There.
Yes, at the expense of my forehead.
Kim had to learn
At the expense of my forehead. Yes, yes. I'm glad you learned your lesson.
This is gonna hurt me more than it hurts you.
That's what I say to my kids.
Ricky said a glass door.
God damn, Ricky, enough of you.
Trying to turn this into an episode of Veep.
You
Wow.
should see how the normies operate out here.
Anyway, let me see if I can find something to go into a break because I'm tired
Yeah,
of this.
find
You got
something
anything
going
going on? You got anything going on, Kamal? Anything in your life happened this weekend?
Beginning of the show
Huh?
going on. I got some big stuff that's happening, but it ain't happened yet, so I can't make
Okay.
announcements. But it's
Well,
going to be some exciting
Let's
news
hook up
for
that microphone
CMD.
before you start making announcements.
You said plug in my microphone?
Yeah, let's do something like that.
What's wrong with my you talking last week with your buzz, your early buzz?
Oh, she ain't got no buzz. He talking shit now.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying? You fixed your mic.
in the first place.
Mine
But
is not
yes.
working?
Is it me or does Kamal sound like he's in the closet?
No, he's in the closet.
He
Okay.
definitely
Oh,
is.
okay. I'll try to fix that. Or maybe I
Yeah.
plugged in the wrong.
Or you out here making announcements? This nigga
Yeah.
making announcements, no mic plugged up.
All right.
I'll work
I
on
guess-
that. I'll work on that.
We'll go ahead and take a quick break and come right back here on No Other Than the Remix Morning Show. Let's go. What's good, everybody? Welcome out to the Remix Morning Show. I go by the name of the Ear Doctor. Thank y'all for tuning in right here, right now. And make sure y'all hit that like button, subscribe. If you are new to the channel, go to patreon.com. Yes, that's where you go to become a member. And you can get footage that's not over here and different things we're going to be dropping for our special members. All right, with that said, also go to the bottom of the screen where you see blkliberationmedia.org. You can go to our website and you can watch the show over there. And you can also donate. That's right, donate. That would be a beautiful thing. All right, with that said, let's let me snap the map. Let me get my fingers ready. A little slow here. But let me give y'all that weather report. All right, let's start in the ATL. We got a high today of 74 degrees. Next, let's take it down to or up to BK, Brooklyn. They got a high of 54 degrees. That's a 20-degree separation. That's mad cold, yo. Detroit is 48, even colder. Let's take it out to Denver and get even colder to 54. Well, not even colder. It's about the same as Brooklyn. And next, let's take it to LA, Los Angeles. They got a high of 70 degrees. Next, let's take it to Cuba. They have a high of 84 degrees. And last but not least, the motherland, no other land. Let's take it to Tanzania. They got a high of 91 degrees. And that's pretty hot. I'll tell you what else is pretty hot. These bullets that hit the Spirit airline that was they was going down to Haiti, I believe. And yeah, from Florida to Haiti. And somebody just bucked off some bullets and hit this Spirit airline, and they had to go to fly somewhere else. I think to the Dominican Republic or something. So wild thing. I still take Spirit in that other airline. I forget what it's called. But yeah, Spirit, not a good look. I mean, when you see that big yellow bird in the sky, I guess they was like, well, let's shoot at it. Crazy. Y'all need to stop that. All right, somebody could have got hurt. All right, so with that said, let's go ahead and get back to the Remix Morning crew right here. You know how we do. Yeah.
Controlled hunts came up at our Hickory Ridge Village Board meeting last night.
Really?
Kahoot.
The deer and the fox are
The fox is alone, man.
they are upsetting some of the upper class whites. They got to go.
Hey, asses, move y'all scary.
When white
ass.
folks with money get
Yeah.
upset, the guns come out quickly.
Isn't that funny? They
No.
do a controlled hunt by my mom's house. They shut down the little park, and they've been doing this controlled deer hunt for a while now. I want to say almost 10 years. Yeah, it's Howard County, baby. Deer season.
Mm-hmm.
I think they got somewhere down here in Georgia where they got a hog where you can go and shoot hogs like that.
Mm.
Crazy.
Well-
In terms of the airline being shot at, trying to land in Port-au-Prince. The story this morning was the FAA is considering banning flights from the U.S. to Haiti.
Wow.
And I'm like, well, if you wanted to have a reason not to fly into Haiti, you could ask somebody on the ground, hey, can you let off some shots at this area? But I don't know. It
That's
just
funny.
sounds contrived. I mean, I believe that it happened, but I have questions.
I can see it though. Some people just want to shoot their gun and have a reason to do it.
At the airplane, though, Ear Doctor.
It's yellow, it's big, it's in the sky.
Come on.
People are in
you're not
it.
giving
People are in
that.
it.
Yeah.
People are in it.
Yeah. I don't
So
think
you
they're
see
thinking about
yellow
that.
in the sky, they just start.
You don't think
just
people think
blasting.
about
That's-
like? You don't think people are like, hey, somebody's in that airplane? I might kill people.
They might not give a fuck.
The
Yeah, well, no,
COINTELPRO
that-
agents probably didn't give a fuck, was my guess.
Mm.
Yeah.
the FBI, CIA, who was on the ground likely shooting at the airplane, no, they didn't give a fuck.
But wait, I'm sorry. A quick addendum. The deer meat goes to underprivileged people who, by the way, in Howard County. I learned that last night. I didn't know that actually. So, you know, it's the cycle of life, everybody.
You
Cycle
ever
of
had
life.
deer meat?
Of course.
I have. Yeah.
What's that?
Venison.
Venison. Okay.
That's what that is, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yes.
venison.
Hey,
Got it.
and you throw it on the grill and put some whatchamacallit on it or whatever.
Lorries.
I mean,
That's all you gotta do.
you know, it's basically anything can work,
Pretty much.
you know. Rabbit
Right.
tastes like chicken. They used to feed us that in the Navy.
Yo, did you put your picture up? Did I miss that?
I did. I put my one picture up. My wife sent my one picture.
I mean, you showed it everybody here.
Mm-mm.
No.
Oh, you got to show that picture. I did
Wait a
not even
minute.
recognize you. At
Wait a
first.
minute. This the Navy picture?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
yeah,
what that's what everybody that's what was
That was a buff motherfucker right there, boy. That
I
motherfucker
know.
was big.
That was a big dude.
Ear Doctor, you got to queue up the village people in the Navy. in the Navy behind this.
but see the
Yo.
comment there with every old picture you see, you were not lying, respectfully.
Facts.
That's it.
Facts. You really
What does
was
that
on
mean,
it
that
in
you
the
were not
Navy.
lying?
What it means is you look a mess now, but you had a
Very
chance
well.
once upon a time back in the day.
How old were you in that picture? About?
That would have, I don't know, let's see. So that would have been, I don't know, somewhere around 2021.
Hmm.
Mm.
Picture looked like it was taken in the 20s. Like crazy.
The 1920s did not look that old. Damn.
See, that's what, see, Yippers out there, where's Jared?
Man, it looked like Popeye the Sailor Man out here. All right, I'll catch you on the next break.
Speaking of that though, I know we about to well, let's slap the map first, because I did have the sort of negative side of the Veterans Day story to get to, but why don't we slap the map real quick?
Peace. Good morning, everybody. Joining us on this good Tuesday, 12 November 2024. It's the Remix Morning Show, Tuesday edition. We've got Kamal, we've got Jared, we've got Kim, we've got the Ear Doctor, and we've got you, the Remixers. Thank you all so much for being here. We're not going to dilly-dally because Jared has a story pertaining to Veterans Day. I'm guessing someone denied you your Veterans Day discount.
No. Oh, no.
In some way.
No, so that's actually interesting. That's the exact sort of the opposite. So I don't want any of it. I reject all of it. I don't want the thank you for your service. I don't tell anybody. I don't wear any insignia. I don't go to get my free sandwiches. I don't like the association at all. And I don't want to be seen as having willfully participated in what this military does. And I also don't want to deny what I felt I experienced personally. So I don't do that. The closest I've come is putting, to be honest, is putting the veteran decal on my driver's license in the hope that if should I ever get pulled over, just helps me out a little bit. That's
Smart.
But other than that,
magnanimous of you to reject the free lunches, the free coffees, and all of that.
The first on the plane? You reject the first on the plane?
no, well, see, now I have, so I told you about my incident with that recently. So I have on occasion, like because they usually only say active duty. And on occasion, especially when, be perfectly honest, when my back is hurting or something, I have on occasion gone up and said, well, why I got to be active? Like, if I got shot at once upon a time with that, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what's the statute of limitations on that? And then usually they're cool with it. Of course, at one time they weren't. And then, steroids and lips, as I was calling them, had a whole bunch of and it became a whole unnecessary thing for people sitting in first class. That was so wild, though. It was only the ones who were already in first class who had an issue with me getting on early. That was
Let's stay focused.
Yeah.
What happened?
No.
What happened?
Well, so the only thing, so the story that I saw, so my point though is that I like to reject it, and I don't want the undue credit, and I don't want to be connected to it, and I don't any of that. But so when I noticed this, and I know that they've done this with the CIA building and all that other stuff, but when this story came out, Harriet Tubman gets formal recognition of her military service.
Oh yeah, I saw
This
that.
is the kind of stuff that pisses me off. This is what I'm saying. Like, not obviously that I'm a Harriet Tubman, but I don't think people in this lineage of connection, of sort of forced conscription based on a specific horrific moment in history and time, should be lionized and misrepresented this way. With this idea that, again, that, I mean, it just adds to all the mythology about what this country is, about why the Civil War took place, what was the North's relationship to that institution, as they called it, and why would people like Tubman have served at all, is just misrepresented. So that was really it, and that just sort of speaks to.
Can you put that back up though?
Oh yeah. Sure.
It made it seem like she worked for the government.
What is this line that says Tubman is best known for shepherding 70 family members and friends to freedom?
Oh wow! Right.
Was that?
So this
I've never heard that description before, or that limiting of who she actually got out. I've
never heard that either. Actually, that's so. Just to be clear, I didn't cover this at all properly.
Oh, no. I just was it just stuck out to me. I did, yeah.
No, you're right. I mean, the state of Maryland marked Veterans Day by commissioning one of its own. Again, Harriet Tubman as a brigadier general, and right down the street from me is Harriet Tubman Lane and the Tubman Center and all this kind of stuff.
And Tubman High School, Jared, that was the black high school before Appleton was the integrated high school. So Tubman, it's named the segregated black high school in Howard County, named for him.
Right. And then they renamed it the Tubman Center, and they have events, including a Veterans Day event last night. So yeah, that's the point. That's it. So yeah, nicknamed the American Moses, and American was that part?
I thought it was Grandma Moses.
And I've even heard her called the African Moses. So this is
who wrote where's this article appearing?
So yeah, it's military.com is where to be specific. Yeah. So let's also consider the source here.
Extra propagandic slander.
But yeah, she's best known for shepherding 70 family members and friends to freedom along the Underground Railroad. Wow, that's deep. And then became a nurse for served as a safety, was also risked her life and her own safety as a nurse for Union soldiers in Port Royal, South Carolina, before a reconnaissance scout and squad leader during operations on the Combahee River. So now the Combahee River is taken away from Black feminism and restored to its rightful place as part of American military history.
And even that description doesn't really encompass what Harriet Tubman did on that so-called reconnaissance mission on Fort Sumter. Like, it was her. She's the reason they won the fucking battle. Like, it's her. Like, she's the reason. And yeah, I was with you, Jared, when I saw that story. She's being elevated to brigadier general. I'm like, is this some shit she would give a fuck about? Is that what she went to her grave thinking? If only I had got my proper military recognition. By the way, how was Harriet Tubman compensated for her military service? Did she receive veterans benefits? She would have been eligible.
You know what? That's a good question. I don't know.
The military, y'all should redispense her would-be veterans benefits to her descendants.
And the hundred years or so that she has not received such. I think that, what they'll probably do too is they'll have a ceremony, another ceremony with what's left of whatever family lineage they can find. They'll prop them up and bring them out, and unfortunately, Negroes will be happy to be brought out and be given the American flag wrapped up in a triangle with some pomp and circumstance and ceremonies and some good food. And everybody will walk away happy, and that'll be the new propaganda story. It is. I mean, it's just what they do. This it's everything is taken for the propaganda value.
Hey, I got a question. So, what are your thoughts about how they're pretty much making history so it doesn't hurt people's feelings nowadays? So it's a lot of stuff that's not
White
even gonna
people's
be.
feelings.
Yes, exactly. So even when it comes to classrooms and teaching, where they'll shut your whole school down if you start talking about the real history. Like, how does that, you feel that affects even you, Jared, with teaching classes? Can they do that on the college level too? Come down and shut y'all down for teaching the real history?
I don't. Well, the more I understand about how universities actually work, they can actually do whatever the hell they want. At the end of the day, there really is nothing that stops their charters give them unreal amounts of power. And I'm just in the last year learning about this. So the extent of that. So I don't know beyond that. I don't know. There's supposed to be. It would be more difficult than I think than what's being targeted at the elementary and K through 12 public school system. It would be a little more difficult than that. And then if you're working in a private university, it would even get a little more difficult than that. Mm-hmm. But I was going to say, in general, it feels like most of the students show up in my class already having been denied damn near everything about history as it stands without any official ban. It feels like it's a de facto ban as it is already. But this, what's happening now certainly is not going to help. Yeah. And this point, I see someone in the chat said, you won't get tenured, so that would be another, in terms of the university, that could be another way that people are punished for what they do and don't do in the classroom. But again, that already exists. It just, making it an official thing. I don't know. I don't know how that would work. But
and just look at some of the current war in Gaza, right? Professors who have stood up, they've been sanctioned. They found ways around getting rid of them. The labeling of people as anti-Semitic and/or the use of terminology like DEI, and then what is the Kimberly Crenshaw thing that they get so upset about?
Intersectionality.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So all that stuff, which is like you said, it's all being poured over to deny the ability to teach real history. And when you look at the school books, like for Texas, and when some of these Texas is so big. The folks who manufacture school books kind of follow their lead, and particularly in the southern areas, because it's like whatever they get, they make such big orders that everybody else is going to get it too. And so when they start saying, don't say slavery, don't talk about resistance to slavery in certain ways, all of that stuff is ways in which by the time they get to Jared, like Jared says, folks already well indoctrinated to either know nothing or know the wrong thing about history. And again, that's why it's so easy to pull up a story for Veterans Day and announce that Harriet Tubman is being honored. And again, outside of people on platforms like this who've done some sort of reading or have some understanding of propaganda, most people would be like, "Oh, it's about time." You know what I mean?
And she worked for the government. That's what it looked like. Like she was really working for the government and helping them out.
She was working for her people.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I'm saying? Like whether or not America succeeded or not, she was trying to free Black people. Period. Point blank. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there's this. I got contacted by some folks in support of faculty. And I'm still learning the full details. I'm hoping that they'll end up here soon enough. At MIT, faculty are losing positions, and I think one even had their tenure overturned as a result of their support for Palestinians. So, yeah. So things can happen. I mean, and as I've learned, tenure it's not what they said it was when they told you to work your ass off to get it.
Well, big up to all my history teachers out there, man.
Salute. Yeah, Cornell. Yeah, I had some good. Yeah, not. Yeah, I knew you were in at Cornell, but who did you have? Come back up here for 1 second. Who were your teachers at
Brown? He was at Brown.
Mario Beatty. I had
at the Morris Brown.
That's right. Masiki Scales, Mario Beatty.
You had Mario Beatty taught you for real?
Mm-hmm. He said for real.
He's at Howard now. He's sharp.
Selassie. She's another sister that taught me. So big up to all my professors.
And only he reads the Medu.
And I think that might be the last safe spaces for us to actually get our history in the HBCUs.
No,
might be.
That's factually incorrect.
Huh? The safe spaces amongst ourselves.
Yeah, that too.
Political education. No, I'm just saying, like there is no institutionalized safe space.
HBCUs are not Black safe spaces.
Which is also not to say that you can't get things out of them. I definitely got things out of my undergrad history, both Black history and like you'll find gems. You'll find the Jared Balls. You'll find, but you have to look for those because like most of my teachers, an undergrad or grad, particularly once I became politicized, you could see like they hated my countering of any argument. I remember in grad school, one teacher said, I have an anti-American bent. She had to give me a 98, but she did it with a caveat. You have an anti-American bent on the world, blah, blah, blah. But it was like factually, all my shit was correct. And so you better give me my grade.
A+.
Yeah. I didn't learn history until I got to college. So.
Yeah, well, what do y'all do as parents, though? I mean, we can do whatever eventual college students discover. Y'all have school age children like that are being indoctrinated in public schools right now. Like, what do you do to counter that? Or do we just accept the indoctrination and wait till they get college age and then we can start the unlearning and the deprogramming? Or are you able to counter the indoctrination sort of in the moment? I know kids have to be taught to test. I was having this conversation with Ricky Ryan, and I'm like, damn, you got to recite the 13 colonies. You got to recite, the Manifest Destiny as a child, right? Got to recite the Pledge of Allegiance as a child. Like, what can conscious parents do to counter this indoctrination that is eventually going to end up harming the kid, eventually, because you're taught inferiority, basically. So
my daughter's class just did the Chinese Cultural Revolution and Mao.
Whoa!
It was a problem. Oh, but the covering of it. It's the covering of it.
I see.
No, not in a good way. Not even-handed or not in a. But as the propaganda value. In fact, that's how they taught them what propaganda was. So by using Mao, that was the lesson, right?
You had to go all the way to China to teach the kids about propaganda.
All the way to China to talk about propaganda.
Not here though.
That's where it's from. It's these Chinese who are like,
wow.
And this is a liberal school again, right? This is a liberal school. That's a charter school. It's a liberal school. So, I for the most part, my kids are ahead of the game, but it's a lifetime of countering. It's a lifetime of counterpunching. So even if you feel like you gave, and I feel like through conversations and talks and even introducing names that I knew they would never get in school, jokes and games that involve like Black liberation leaders and stuff like that, so that it was something that they had. I feel like my kids are well ahead of the game, but it doesn't mean that like they are awash, and so they'll come back. They'll say, and some things even that I agree with, I tell that I've told them, or they've come up on their own, in language. You know what I mean? Like the difference between Zionism and Jewish. They haven't quite distinguished that, so they'll say, like Caleb just said something in the car.
The Jews.
He basically said he said something around. I'm not going to put the full sentence together, like how the Jewish and like I guess I have to, like Jewish endorsing the Holocaust, the current Holocaust. I had to pull that back. It's okay if you say Zionists are, but they're the distinctions are important for me for them to understand. But then my last words was like, don't talk about this outside the car. Like, don't. He has a little friend, like his best friend, and their parents grew up in the kibbutz thing, stuff like that. So we got into it a little, like they're like, they're like the Palestine. They're like, we don't think it's like it's they think it's terrible what's happening to the Palestinians, but it's always that, and of course what happened on October 7th. And so I get into a little bit, but I'm like, I want him to keep his friendship because him and this kid really get along. So I just think it's hard, but I know people who are much more hardcore than I am, right? And I do think, and I'll shut up on this, that as much issues as I may have with some of the over culturalization of some of the African-centered schools in terms of culture over politics, I will say the people who I've met who at least have had some pro-Black politics that have stuck with them the rest of their lives, the majority of them, or a good percentage of them, have had the early education that Black schools have provided, which have gotten them on a different path. Doesn't mean they've all become political activists and organizers the way I am, but in their different ways, they've held up sort of Black African culture, Black history, and so forth. And so I do think I think obviously you got to work on taking over public schools, but I also think the idea of Black-centered schools at an early age are extremely important, more so than ever with the return of overt white supremacy.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Go ahead.
I also feel like the only way, like right now, I could get into schools is with an after-school program to be able to talk about history and stuff like that. Because I would say even with college, learning about history, it gave me more of a love and a knowledge of why I'm in the position and why are people in the position we're in. And I would be like, oh, well, damn. But at first, you'd be like, damn, God, why'd you put us in this position? Then you learn, oh, shit, somebody else put us in this position. And then you realize, okay, well, let's get up out of this position. It gives you a little bit of fire. So I think that's what they get. But for my kids being in the area they're at, being around Black people, coming up during the time when the president was Black, all these different people, Black, and Black, they don't have that lack of self-love like we might have had. So it might be a little bit different. My thoughts.
Yeah.
Black representation as kids. You don't think so? I mean, it wasn't not seeing Black mayors or Black police. That didn't have an effect, but just, I don't know.
Well, like I said, self-love. That's where I see, like, learning history gave me more of a love for my people. Before I was just like, that's another nigga over there.
Yeah, but what about your kids? What about your childrens?
What you mean? What about them?
They're being indoctrinated in public schools. So what have you done, or what do you do to counter that?
I got them to sit down and watch The Long and Mighty Walk, John Henry Clark. I gave both of my kids the Malcolm X book. They haven't read it, but they got to at least read that. And then they hear me talking all the time. So
we did that. We did the Long and Mighty Walk. But over the years, somebody mentioned it in the chat. So I had made this board game that we didn't play as much as I would have liked, to be perfectly honest. But it was a game that meant that involved knowing various elements of history and culture and politics. It involved movement, so they would have to physically get up and do stuff and perform unity. And the only way you could win is when everybody won. Like, you had to get everybody in the game to Africa. That was basically, and if if one person didn't make it, then you couldn't win the game. So I did little index cards from very early on. We would just talk all the time. But one of the unfortunate aspects is that it is still counterpunching. I think you said that. I think that's perfectly. It's a perfect metaphor. It's still counterpunching, so you don't get. I still feel like it's not the victory I would have wanted. They have to. It's a never-ending wave of Eurocentric Western American capitalists. I mean, it's just a whole. We still you got. I mean, you at least they mentioned Mao at your kids' school. At ours, they learned about American propaganda by reading that old story, that book that we used to get when I was a kid about the girl in the red coat or whatever it was. I never read it because I never read in school, but it was the same book we got assigned, and it's about the Chinese girl that escapes communist China and escapes Mao. So they only hear about Mao from the perspective of the escape, if at all. I think he comes up in the background a little bit in that book. So it's just a constant, but I will say very recently, my oldest said something to me and where the point was she had heard, she like reflected some of my own politics just naturally in conversation. And I said, damn, I said, I said, I wasn't sure you would have gotten there. And then she said, Daddy, I've been listening to you. And I had to do like, we were driving. I had to do like, I'm gonna look out the window real quick.
A tear rolled down the eye.
Oh, I was like, oh.
You finished crying. What did she say? After you
No,
finished sobbing?
it didn't really, it was just her saying, she kind of, moved on real quick, but it was just like, she's like, I've been listening to you. I listen to you. I hear you.
Oh.
So it does work. Like some of that does work in terms of just the conversation and all the.
And what I like my kids being able to stand up and be count. Like I want them to, like at this stage, you got to pick and choose. Like, so my daughter got a chance to go to the Atlanta Hawks to do the national anthem with her friends. I allowed it because I was
wow,
to go into whatever. But in her normal everyday life, we talked about it, right? She doesn't stand up for the national anthem ever. Like she does so, but it was like, but we both we sat and had the conversations like, well, this is an experience for you. And so that's whatever, let this happen. But that's the kind of thing that you, that you got to like continually sort of battle. Cause like some of these quote unquote, like the school play she likes to act, but the school play has pro-American themes in it year after year. There's always something in there. When they do their little, like my son, like, he's like second and first grade, when they did their little showcases for the parents, like, some of the kids are dressed up like Uncle Sam and they're doing that kind of stuff. So it's a constant thing. And again, at least I think both of them at this age, like they will speak and give alternative views of things, which luckily so far they've had a couple of Black teachers who've appreciated it, and they might not always, they might be more political than the teachers, but the teachers do appreciate the alternative views. But I remember my daughter's kindergarten and first grade teacher, I believe it was a cop in her family, because she didn't like that Maya didn't stand up. And Maya has not been standing up since first grade.
Same here with that, yeah. And I just have Daddy on speed dial. I'm waiting. Please call. Please have Daddy
my
be.
Next question to y'all: like, would your kids get in trouble at home for resisting in some way?
They
would get. You know what I'm saying? They would get gifts.
But
Are
here's
the
the
privileges. Are the parents that if a white child or non-Black child were to call your child a racial slur and your kid pop them in the mouth, is your kid get in trouble at home when they get home?
Hell no. Candy, treats, gifts. We going shopping. Fuck that.
3 days suspension. It's like, a vacation.
Yeah, I'm taking off. I'm home too. We all staying home. We going to the beach.
But is that on both sides though? Like as in your wife's? Like are they down for it at the same time? Because I know that even
for that, yeah.
My kid's mom is from the Caribbean, so she kind of like, I fucks with America. Y'all gave me my citizenship. So it's like certain things, like I'll go, like you said, the whole pledge allegiance to the flag. I'll be the one sitting down when Christmas time come around. I'm the one, like, I'm not doing all that stuff. Thanksgiving, I'm not. So it's always these discussions because they look at me and be like, well, why ain't you doing what everybody else is doing? So as long as you stand on your ground, I think they learn from that.
Well, that was important to me in terms of like, and important to again, in terms of who we were going to like, you know, having kids with. The politics were like supreme over everything. Like, so that was, I couldn't have not, you know, and again, I think I tell stories about like how I was going to be, you know, not going to be married and all that kind of stuff. And then I found somebody, fell in love, but the politics were front and center. I could not have married anybody who didn't have, we don't have the exact politics, but who didn't share the basis of the politics that I share. And I think vice versa for again, whatever. So, and I think, you know, even if we broke up and got whatever, we would still share the same politics, which would allow us to continue to raise our kids in a certain way. So that was predominant and more than anything or whatever like that. So.
Oh, look at Kim.
It's just beautiful. Y'all sound like good pops out here. So good, you know. At least the kids won't get in trouble when they have to slap somebody for calling them the N-word. That's good.
Right.
That's wonderful.
Only people calling my kids the N-word is other black kids.
Oh, hold on. Are y'all also
Right.
are y'all also teaching the kids? Like if Cooper comes out the mouth reckless, are y'all teaching the kids Molly Wop Cooper?
No
I teach
Coopers
my kids to
around.
defend themselves, not to start it, but to finish it.
But
That's
if,
like-
if somebody calling your child a racial slur, isn't that starting it? To me,
No, that's what I mean. Yes, but
Oh,
that
okay.
gives you permission. But again, with kids, they take it because now my daughter just did this the other day. She had on some sweater, and I was like, "Whose sweater is that?" She said, "I took this from some white girl." I was like, "What?" She said, "Because she's racist." And I was like, "Slow down, B. What do you mean you took somebody's sweater?" So like, you know what I mean? Like, so at 12,
Discover.
if you
It's
that can be
equalizers.
manifested in certain ways of like, what you did, what, you know, she said it in such a way I was like, I'm assuming like some of this is a joke, but we're going to have to get to the bottom of why you have some sweater on that you did not leave the house with, and that your retort to me, you know.
I took it off a
You should
white
have said I
girl.
discovered it like Columbus.
Maya
Exactly.
in middle school.
They said
so
reparations.
quiet as it's kept. Maya got the school shook out here. Like,
Yeah,
oh,
she do. I think she do. They be like, I seen your dad on the news
Yeah.
the other night.
Show up one day unannounced, Kamal. Just peek around the corner real quick and see what's really going on. See Maya in there talking about, sit down, give me that lunch.
like her daddy, stopping and frisking, giving
You
up.
know what I'm
Taking
saying?
them down.
Got on my lunch, homie.
You know what I'm saying?
Speaking,
Got
speaking
my
of
milk
Kamal, I
money.
think it's a perfect time.
It is the perfect time. It is the perfect time. We
Do
did
like
nice
my
together.
child does at school.
You know what I'm saying? If y'all enjoyed this good conversation, I know we did a little news. We're gonna get into a lot more news. It is that time. Black Liberation Media. Let me see what's happening up here in the donation cycle.
Let's talk about
Let me
it.
see. Let me see. We got
That's
we got a
funny.
good donation from somebody of $104. A one-time donation that happened. Oh, it happened yesterday.
Thank you.
Says love
It's
all the
104.
shows.
Sorry.
Oh, love all the Ear Doctor. Love all the shows, the election coverage, and Ear Doctor's mixes.
Wow.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Appreciate it.
How much of that 104 is yours, there, doctor?
The four. That's why it's 104. Read the rest of the fine
It's
print.
the
They say-
community split. I don't get it.
I feel like if you get mentioned in the donation, you should
You get a higher cut.
get a higher cut.
You would
Yeah.
think, you would think. All right, let's go ahead and take another quick break, and then we'll come back with some more news. We'll have some more stories than one. All right, let's do it right here on the Remix Morning Show. Let's go. Coming with that hard right here on the Remix Morning Show. Thank y'all for tuning in, hitting that like button, and subscribing if you're new to the channel. Patreon.com is over there waiting for you to become a member. So go ahead and check out the different tiers and see how you want to get down with us. So you can check out some additional footage of some things going on. All right, speaking of things going on right here on Black Liberation Media, in case you didn't see it, We got two sisters that have a show that is pretty good. SLR. And they had a new episode breaking down, pretty much reintroducing themselves to y'all. So let's check it out, see what they talking about.
All right, y'all. So as we posted on social media, since we are just returning to BLM, and it technically we're not returning. This is our first time on the Black Liberation Media platform. We were on BPM before. And so we just thought that we will reintroduce ourselves, that we would interview each other. And this some of the stuff might be stuff you know, some of it might be stuff you don't know, and some of the questions are a little bit more serious, some are just fun and silly. So yeah, get to know your girls. So that is what we will be doing. We came up with questions for each other related to life, study, and revolution. And also, like we said, if you all have questions that come up, keep it cute, but drop them in the chat. And by keep it cute, I mean don't be nosy.
All right. So make sure y'all check that out. Life Struggles and Revolution. Did I say that right? Check out the two sisters. They are back right here on Black Liberation Media. With that said, let's go ahead and get back to our crew right here on Black Liberation Media. Let's go. Big up Dr. CBS and Layla Brown. Got a lot of Browns around here. That plantation was big. Good Lord.
Man, listen, that's why everybody named Brown, I just assume that we are not related, right? Like there's so many Browns, Jones, Lord.
Browns plantation, boy. That's like Candyland.
Sheesh.
All right, so make sure y'all go check out that last episode, LSR. What was it? Life Struggle and Revolution? Did I get that right? I think so.
I thought it was.
Listen.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
We'll go with that. Anyway, Dr. CBS and Dr. Layla Brown. Go check them out. All right, catch y'all later.
Welcome back.
So does that mean the last dope intellectual is up for grabs? I might take that and do it my own show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Why? I hear some reservation in your voice. I don't understand.
You're the last dope intellectual.
Incredulity.
Why can't I take the mantle? I can take the mantle.
You said, if you remember back when the show first started, you had announced some squabble with the name then, as you took umbrance to not being you asked CBS, how could you be the last if I'm here?
Exactly. And that's still the case, of course.
It's like
maybe you're second to last come out. The second to last dope intellectual.
The second to well,
I did think it was struggle too, Maggie. I did.
It's not struggle. What is it?
It's study, right?
Oh.
Am I wrong? I might be wrong. And then even when I go to the show, even when I went to cheat by looking at the video, it just says LSR. So that's But I did think it was struggle. Study, struggle.
Overlap. There's overlap.
There's definitely overlap.
Maybe at some point one of them will come back on, or some of them will come back on the morning show
and explain.
I just went as a co-host.
Oh,
on a co-hosting thing.
Oh wow.
All of the above. Do all the things.
All the things. Kim, I put up your story on BRICS. Do you want to start there?
Yeah.
BRICS.
The BRICS, Shaolin, the BRICS, the BRICS, the big BRICS convention, conference. What was it? An assembly? What are they calling this? Of the BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, with some other players up in the mix. I don't like UAE and Saudi Arabia being in this mix. I feel like they the snitches, they the moles in the whole joint.
Well, remember, Saudi Arabia actually turned down their membership, so they're not officially in BRICS.
Well,
so it's just the UAE.
Yeah, UAE, Egypt, Ethiopia, I think is in it. Ibrahim Traore, I think, got a special accommodation on behalf of Burkina Faso. But what one of the big things that come out of the BRICS Summit, and this is from a couple weeks ago, I think this piece is from Mint Press, if I have that correct, talked about the alternate payment system, the global payment system that the BRICS countries are starting? Is it up and running, or it's on the way to being realized? So anyway, we can watch. Let's maybe do. Can we get 2 minutes of this, Air Doctor, please, and thank you.
2 minutes.
The BRICS pushes for BRICS pay system. Putin's de-dollarization pushes BRICS. What is BRICS pay?
BRICS Pay, touted as an alternative to the US dollar, has the potential to revolutionize global finance by allowing BRICS nations to make cross-border payments more efficiently using their own currencies. But what exactly is BRICS Pay, and why is it so significant? Well, BRICS Pay is a proposed decentralized payment system developed by BRICS nations: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, recently expanded to include Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, and the UAE. It aims to enable cross-border transactions in local currencies without depending on the US dollar or traditional Western-led payment system like the SWIFT.
Why was BRICS pay necessary?
Geopolitical tensions, particularly Western sanctions on countries like Russia, have accelerated the push for a new payment system. After the invasion of Ukraine in 2022, Russia was cut off from international capital markets and had its dollar and euro reserves frozen. This financial isolation led Russia to call for an alternative to the current global financial system, dominated by institutions like the IMF and the World Bank, which they argue favor Western interests.
How does it work, BRICS pay?
The BRICS Pay system leverages the payment infrastructure already in place within BRICS nations. For example, Russia's MEAD network and India's UPI. BRICS Pay will use blockchain technology to validate transactions, ensuring security and transparency. It is designed to be faster, cheaper, and free from external interference. One of the key features of BRICS Pay is its ability to facilitate transactions in local currencies, including the Russian ruble and Indian rupee. This means that businesses and individuals in BRICS nations can make cross-border payments without needing to convert their currencies into US dollars. The new system brings numerous benefits. It eliminates the risks associated with the traditional banking system, such as credit risks and delays caused by reliance on Western-dominated platforms like the SWIFT. By using decentralized ledger technology, it also enhances the security and efficiency of transactions. BRICS now represents 45% of the global population and 37% of the world economy. With the expansion of BRICS and the development of BRICS Pay, these nations are pushing for a multipolar world order, challenging the dominance of the dollar in global trade. Often seen as a geopolitical rival to the G7 bloc of advanced economies, BRICS aims to create a financial system that works for emerging markets, offering alternatives to Western-led institutions like the IMF and the World Bank. As the world increasingly moves towards digitization, systems like BRICS Pay could become more critical in shaping the future of global payments and boost the efforts of de-dollarization. By fostering financial cooperation between member states and reducing dependency on the US dollar, BRICS Pay could pave the way for a more decentralized and equitable financial system. For more news and updates, keep watching Live Mint.
Interesting. And there's been a number of countries that I think have begun either trading, not necessarily in the BRICS Pay, but I think I read that Nigeria is now starting to sell its oil in its own currency. What's the Nigerian currency? Is it the lira? I can't remember, but whatever the Nigerian currency is, they're now selling their oil in their currency. Argentina is now trading with China using the yuan, though not confirmed. Y'all should verify that. But this de-dollarization seems to be accelerating.
Naira, yeah.
Naira, thank you, not lira. Naira, thank you. Y'all's thoughts? The BRICS, Iran and Russia said, "Dog, we know how to live under sanctions." Okay, like we done did sanctions. Guess what? Now we gonna flip it. China, you want in on this? China say, "Yup, bring us in." India, y'all, come on over. What do y'all thought?
I think it's one of the most important ongoing developments in modern times, the idea of what BRICS can become. Not that it's there yet, right? And like you said, a lot of there are already systems like this. Like China has a system, Russia has a system, but of course they're not internationalized enough for all the trading partners. And so part of what BRICS Pay is supposed to do, although it's not really operative at this particular time, and that's part of the other issue, is that this steam is gathering to actually see some of this stuff take place, but they haven't made it completely operational, which means inside there's probably either technological issues still being worked out, or the countries haven't completely agreed yet to what it means to adopt this system as opposed to some of the other de-dollarization systems that they have in micro. But if there does become a BRICS Pay, which is actually being used as an alternative to SWIFT, it is a huge development, which the West, I'm sure, will fight and attempt to destroy. But the fact that, like you said, that they're coming up with a system that doesn't use the dollar as the currency to trade from, but basically trades in local currencies, that would be a huge way of making sure that the United States and Western Europe could not sanction as well as they could not do exactly what they did to both Russia and Iran and other nations, which is to basically kick you off of the international system in which trade takes place, and isolate you in such a way. And so this is something that takes away the power of Western imperialism. But internally, of course, there's differences within the BRICS nations, which I think is making this a little harder to bring out. Like India, although trading in its local currency and wanting to emphasize de-dollarization, doesn't want to be seen as an anti-Western, BRICS to be seen as an anti-Western counterweight. Brazil, even with this so-called leftist President Lula, who denied Venezuela a place in BRICS. Venezuela was vetoed by Brazil, and so was not allowed to be a member or I think they have a second category now, but it wasn't allowed to even be in that category because Brazil vetoed it. And so there's also still intrigue within to see how well this goes. But the idea that at least that these nations are coming together to use technology and their like their economic engines as being such a high proportion of international capital, that this is I think is exciting. And so we need, it was the reporter, the white guy who I think he was once with his name is escaping me, but he's been
Ben Norton.
Ben Norton has done a lot of work in this area, and so it'd be great if we could. I don't know him personally, but if we could get somebody like him on to go a little bit deeper. He did like a 2-hour analysis of the BRICS meeting which happened last month in Russia, and so yeah, I think it's exciting. They're trying to do different alternative banks, the payment system. There's a conversation about coming up with a new currency to replace the dollar. Again, all these things are not easy to do and hard to get done. But the fact that some of these conversations have started is really important.
So, yeah, Ben Norton is going to join me tomorrow night. And what I think, if there's no conflict with this platform already, then we were having an issue scheduling it because he's 13 hours ahead in China. But if there's no conflict with this platform tomorrow night, we can just move it over here. It'd be tomorrow at 8 p.m.
I would love that. Can I come on? Y'all talking about BRICS? What y'all talking about?
That's on the agenda. Yeah, absolutely. You know what? Yeah, come on and join us tomorrow at 8 o'clock. And before the end of this show, I'll just switch the setup. It'll be over here. And 8 p.m. Eastern. So that'd be great if you and if anybody else wants to too, that they can join. But because I've been following his work, particularly after the election, I like reconnected to his work, and his shit is sharp. So I think he'd be good to talk to about this. I was good. So BRICS is on the agenda already. The de-dollarization issue. some of the election dissection that he's doing from a global perspective is going to be on there, and then anything else you want to add is great. So yeah, I don't think there's a conflict with this platform tomorrow night, but I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, so we'll just So yeah, perfect timing then.
I think about where
Yeah.
BRICS was 10 years ago, when I was working for Russian media. Obviously, they had an interest in the newly formed BRICS coalition. But it seems as though 10 years from now, right? Like this is going to be a whole new ball game in terms of the at least potential economic realignment of the world. There's lots of speculation that the US dollar is going to fall all the way off under Trump's policies, as it pertains to these, tariffs that he wants to put on imported goods. I suppose the gamble he's making on American manufacturing jobs coming back, I don't see that happening, but okay. and the deportation of a good number of the workforce. If you want to deport undocumented people, well, you're deporting workers in critical and essential sectors. So BRICS is probably just going to help the U.S. fall down the steps. In my guess, it seems the U.S. is going to do a good job of fucking up the economy all by itself, like Republicans do whenever they get into power, regardless. But it's hopefully the BRICS nations are right there to help America down, put them down, keep them down.
So I thought I saw somebody mention Gerald Horn in the chat. I would love to catch up with what he has been saying about this. But the first thing I thought of when I saw the name was, to be honest, was given some of his earlier work on related subjects, is where is the black struggle in relationship to BRICS? And I wish, and I hope I'm just missing it, I wish there were more of a internally organized support for this effort, with the idea that we need them to be successful for our own liberatory efforts, because clearly the reverse hashtag folks and similar liberal politics have sort of reattached the black political psyche, so to speak, to this state almost exclusively, whether it's for this idea of reparations or just general happiness and freedom or whatever. And so I just hope I'm unplugged too much or distant too far apart away from it. But I do hope that BRICS gets more positive attention, and that more black people here start to see our own aspirations in that kind of effort. The other thing that I had on the other side of my head was I had like this montage of people getting their guns together. Because when the U.S. starts, you start threatening the dollar and all this other kind of stuff, that's, because ultimately what really keeps the dollar strong is the U.S. military. So, somebody's something.
But I think that's the big thing, is whether part of it is what the U.S. and the G7 nations will do to either stop this effort or forestall the effort. And so does it mean they're going to be offering up more goodies? So part of the overtness of the system that benefits the European nations and the United States, basically the white part of the world, not exclusively, because obviously Japan is part of that. Some other nations are part of that. Some of the things like the sanctions are obvious, right? And boom, big and bold. But the regular everyday ways in which obviously the IMF, the World Bank operate, who has the power within the G7, within the IMF, all of those things continually keep the West alive. And so that's why I think the expansiveness of the BRICS vision, which includes, again, import-export banks and other banks that's supposed to be alternatives to the IMF, this payment system, again, the conversation about developing a new currency to replace the U.S. dollar. Again, some of these things, I think it's good that you mentioned, Kim. 10 years from now, like if any of these efforts move fast or faster or become really relevant in terms of like how their application, I'm sure that the challenge from the U.S. would be to try to make viruses within these systems, outright invasions, payoffs, getting some of the BRICS nations to back out, like in India, in order to stop that forward progress. And so, again, interesting, and just again, we're now reaching this point where overt white supremacy is like, we're like, I guess the running joke, winter is coming. Overt white supremacy is now fully loud and proud and ensconced. And the folks who are coming in, I think Dad is right, that they're turned towards hurting China or treating China as the ultimate enemy. The question will become how fast, again, does China, like as the world economy decouples, right? And I think that's partly what's happening too, is how fast this happens. And again, I agree with to our benefit in some ways, because people keep thinking they're going to patch up the empire by voting for these liberals and stuff like that. It was like, no, the empire really has to fall for there to be a restart. And people have to think about that.
Mm-hmm. To Jared's point about when nations start discussing de-dollarization, that's when the guns come out, right? That's when the military comes out. I mean, we don't need to look no farther than what happened in Libya and what continues to happen in Libya to see what the West is ready to do, for lack of a better term, when niggas start talking reckless. Like, what you mean you're getting off the dollar? What you mean you're going on the gold standard? What you mean? No, we can't do any of that. And unfortunately or unfortunately, in my opinion, BRICS is going to have to turn into, a mutual aggression sort of coalition. Like, they're going to have to agree to defend each other when the West comes a-cooing, right? Like, it's going to have to look, as much as BRICS is an economic coalition, like the G7 is going to have to look like the G7 is with NATO. You know what I'm saying? Like, the G7 and NATO are the same niggas, right? And if one are attacked, the rest of them respond. So I can't see BRICS not also going in that direction. I can't see how it's going to be able to be avoided.
I think that's part of the struggle, is like what happens, because again, like you mentioned earlier, like all the countries are not aligned politically in the same way the Western nations are aligned, both politically and militarily, to keep Western dominance at the forefront of the world system. Unfortunately, some of the BRICS nations, China and India have its own challenges. They just settled a border dispute right before the BRICS conference. But the fact that that's even happening is a good thing. But, again, the war on Palestine and what that means for some of the Arab nations and their closeness, and with Trump coming in, and again, like I wanted to get to a story where it seems like Marco Rubio is going to be appointed Secretary of State, and Marco Rubio's stance on the Palestinian war. Someone asked him about all the Palestinians being killed, and his response was, "That's 100% Hamas's fault." And so this overtness, where they're not even trying to play games, it'll be interesting, because there's been other meetings between Saudi Arabia and Iran, and the Arab nations just had a summit. And so it'll be interesting in which way people turn, doing this sort of overt turn in the United States for white supremacy.
Oh, that's bad if Rubio's going to be Secretary of State.
Well, let's do that. Let's run through some of the picks that at least are supposed to be either coming down the pike or have already been announced. And it says, as Trump builds his second administration, President-elect Donald Trump's administration continues to take shape. Trump is expected to nominate Senator Marco Rubio of Florida for Secretary of State in the coming days, according to three sources familiar with the selection process. Trump's America First doctrine emphasizes less foreign aid and curtailing U.S. involvement in conflict, but foreign policy is one of the few areas in which there is a deep philosophical disagreement amongst Trump's base. And Rubio is famous for being extreme on Venezuela, Cuba, China, Iran. And so he is one of the extremists, again, who will hasten sort of damage done to some of these, an attempt to do damage or more damage to some of these nations. Some of the other picks we have is Trump's first cabinet pick is a representative. I think it's Elise Stenfick of New York to serve as ambassador. Say the name?
Stefanik.
Thank you. Stefanik will be the ambassador to the United Nations.
Jesus.
It says hours later, Trump announced his second cabinet pick, former Rep. Lee Zeldin, to oversee Environmental Protection Agency, and basically that is mean a lack of protection for the environment, and so there will be huge attempts to roll back whatever regulations are left that's already been rolled back under Biden and Trump prior to that. Stephen Miller is going to be his deputy chief of staff or chief of policy. Sources said Miller's a staunch hardliner on immigration policies. There's been conversations that Miller is working already to do mass deportations at gunpoint, like calling in Homeland Security, building cages again, bigger cages. So these are just some of and some are returning, some are new. Again, the overt white supremacy that is going to be coming in and enacting these policies, which again, some of these Democrats will acquiesce to and not fight back on because they think they're going to be setting themselves up for the next election.
And with a majority in the Senate, all of the pushback that we saw during Trump's first term when he was trying to get his cabinet members confirmed, like the pushback against Mnuchin, even though he got confirmed, and pushback against all these other terribles that eventually got confirmed. Like it's all green lights, baby, and nothing stopping them.
I'm sure there'll be a mighty challenge in the House.
Well,
yeah,
all for naught, right?
I know.
It's all for naught. Like, y'all don't even get a say. Y'all stay over there.
Well, the other thing we're going to hear a lot of, which has already begun in some spaces, is this is what you all get, and who didn't support Kamala, and everything would have been better if Kamala had been elected. So I think there's going to be a steady diet of that. Probably
What
for
I
4
hate-
years.
The biggest thing that I hate about that is, and I think it's cruel. I mean, people could be like, well, they voted how they voted. That's what they get. All the talk about Asians and Latinos who voted for Trump. Well, that's all right. That's why I'm gonna post the number to ICE on my Facebook and tell everybody to call ICE and tell you. I'm like, no, even if that's how they voted, what you yourself are proposing is fucking cruel and fucked up. Like how can you even claim to have any mantle of morality, but you want to call them people on undocumented people? Why? Because they voted for Trump? Like, let's be serious here. And that's
in many cases didn't vote at all, right? I mean, that's the other outcome. 14 million less people voted for the Democratic candidate, which is because the Democratic candidate was trash. And you can't, and people are going to make some simple, like I did, like you can't have an ongoing genocide and then tell me that I have to vote for this to forestall another ongoing genocide. But I do think I agree. I think that's where the liberals will head. I think, but either way, I think for the left or for folks who are organizing, again, it's a time for fight. It's a time for action. It's always been, but with this clear cut, a view of what white supremacy is coming to power. People need to be in organizations, need to be establishing mutual aid networks, need to be out there protesting and fighting. All of it should have been happening before, but again, with the emphasis of how extreme a Trump administration could potentially be, this is no time for either side to be "I told you so," right? This is a time for fighting.
That's fair. That's fair.
I also want to bring up this story real quick. Congress is about to give Trump sweeping powers to crush his political enemies. The House is set to vote Tuesday on a bill that would let the administration destroy nonprofits it claims supports terrorism. And so it says on the campaign trail, he joked about being a dictator on day one in office, pledged to jail journalists and threatened to to retaliate against political foes who he felt had wronged him. Now, just days after he secured a second term in the White House, Congress is already moving to hand a resurgent Trump administration a powerful cudgel that could yield against ideological opponents in civil society. Up for a potential fast-track vote next week in the House of Representatives is the Stop Terror Financing and Tax Penalty of American Hostages, would grant the Secretary of Treasury Department unilateral authority to revoke the tax-exempt status of any nonprofit deemed to be a terrorist-supporting organization. The resolution has already prompted strong opposition from a wide variety of civil groups, more than 100 signing a letter. With Trump set to return to office, it is more urgent than ever to beat the legislation back. And we should say a similar type of legislation was already passed overwhelmingly in the House during the Biden administration. They got support from both the Republicans and the Democrats. But in the Senate, it lay dormant, like the Senate wouldn't touch it. So it says the ACLU is saying that this is about stifling dissent and to show advocacy because people are going to avoid certain things and take certain positions in order to avoid this designation. And the thing about this designation is that they don't have to present any evidence whatsoever if it does get passed by both, again, the House and the Senate. Basically, the Treasury Department can say, you are a terrorist supporting organization. We are going to strip you of that coverage of C3. And therefore take all your resources and money. And so I'm going to bring up another, I'm going to look for this article in a second, but there's another corresponding article around groups that have already been targeted for to have their status stripped. And we as CNB are part of these groups. And it's not, again, that the C3 world is the leading revolutionary groups. But a lot of these organizations which have this designation do great work in attempting to promote human rights, to promote Palestinian right to exist, not even right to struggle, but right to exist. And there's other organizations like ourselves that are far more political in terms of some of the work that we do. But there's a list that these right-wing groups have already developed of groups that they've identified as so-called either terrorist or terrorist supporting, that they are already promoting for this the Treasury Department to strip them of their C3 labeling and therefore to label them as terrorists, which means that banks will stop banking with them, that they won't obviously be able to continue the work at the level in which they were doing it. And so again, it's more about people's dedication. Getting this money is important for some work, but if people have the ideological convictions, then they'll continue this work in some fashion, even if this takes place. But obviously, it does mean groups would be hard hit if it were to.
What would be the potential workaround for that, Kamau? Would it be the 501c3? You would willingly give up that tax exempt status and maybe become corporations, become LLCs? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what's a way you could get a jump on that before it even came to pass? Well, we didn't pass this law targeting nonprofit organizations. Oh, well, we're not a nonprofit. We're actually
I think a lot of people are trying to find that now, whether or not there are trusts that could be set up to protect the assets that have been gained. I think that's a opportunity, or that's something that people are looking into. I think it's hard for an organization that's received money that's supposed to be designated for tax exempt purposes to then move that money to a structure that is a for-profit structure. So that part, by doing that, that could already put you at stake for embezzlement charges and other things of that nature. And so most folks are looking at what I think are trust structures. They're looking at developing other C3s which they don't use in tandem with their political work. And so C3s which operate to hold the resources, and the organizations that do the political work, which are separated from them and just used as fiscal conduits. And so none of that, some people are hoping that some of these things are shields, of course, but in my estimation, they may give some protection, but the U.S. government, when it is going to war, it is going to war. And just like the U.S. government can break up for-profit corporations at times, it will do the same for these nonprofits. And that's why the ideology of the people running these things or involved in these things is so important, because the work has to continue. This is just a vehicle, or one vehicle, right, to potentially do some of this work through. But it should not be the way in which folks think that, oh, this vehicle was taken down, then they throw, you throw your hands up and go like, oh, I guess the work stops, because then that's how they win. And I think sometimes there's been that conflation of the C3 work, or organizations that have C3 can only do this work because they are now collected all these resources and they can hire people. This work has to be done regardless of whether or not that money is at people's disposal. All the good things that people were able to do, the things that were good, right, that people were able to do with some of the collection of these resources, just because that's not there anymore. It's still, there has to be a left and or a counterinsurgency to what's happening, or an insurgency to what's happening, that I think still has to be, people have to understand that these designations were always meant to be temporary or could always be taken away. And that's not where the revolution is, or that's not where the organizing needs to happen. But speaking of something that needs to happen, let's bring it.
Hey, so I'm pondering over here. I'm just
boy.
thinking, with Trump in office, the Senate, everything seems to be going their way, right? Should we go ahead and get on that boat with Marcus Garvey and get up out of here, or do we do what this young 22-year-old sister's talking about right here?
What if we had a Black Project 2025? Hear me out. I know it sounds crazy, but this is my vision. What if all of us were to get into a group? Okay, I'm talking doctors, lawyers, engineers. There's so many of us that are so talented, and we were to work together with our own Black agenda for 2025. I'm talking opening up Black-owned grocery stores in certain cities, Black-owned banks, so that way we can actually get our home loans and do what we need to do, our own doctor's offices, our own law practices, and we really were to just congregate and push towards our goals and our outcomes, right? And so this is how I envision it going. We can all get into this group. We can all donate what we have to donate on a monthly basis. And then basically we can have a CEO, we can have a CMO, and we can have a CFO that's in charge of leading the groups with the initiatives, right? We could have bi-weekly, monthly calls in regards to where we stand with our goals. So, okay, guys, we want a Black-owned grocery store in Los Angeles, built and developed, August 2025. This is where we stand. This is how much we,
All right. So do we try to do that here in America? Do we try to do that somewhere else? Or do we just realize that this system is set up to succeed, even if we want to go and try to go against it?
Isn't that 110-plus-year-old rhetoric about the talented 10th? Can we get all the Black lawyers and doctors and engineers, and we can put all our money together? That sounds like DC. Isn't DC? Is it what she just described? Like,
it just always sounds funny to me. I mean, yeah, why don't we all just get together and do this? It's that simple. Like, I mean, so yeah, yeah, all 40 million Black folks in this country get together and elect a CEO and I mean, that's been part of the call of many of the people associated with this platform, which is join an organization, get involved in organizations, and then I think whatever your goals are have more legitimacy, and then you also run into you become more you learn a little bit more about the complicated nature of what you're arguing for. It just sounds like just a very uninformed, like I woke up tomorrow and woke up this morning and said I have the solution, and but yeah, if everybody got together and then immediately, I mean, I would love to see that happen, because again, sort of my running joke is if everybody did that, then yeah, by noon of that same day, we would be in a state of revolution, because everybody would see it don't work like that. And if we're already all organized with that one goal, then the revolution is going to be easy. I mean,
it also denotes an erasure of history throughout Black people's experience in this country. We have had all of those things concentrated in our segregated communities at various points in time. It did not guarantee us freedom. It didn't even guarantee us safety. If anything, the whites saw the Black people got their shit together, and what did they do?
Black Wall Street, Sweet Auburn Avenue, different places.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to take a slightly, again, I agree. I think she's naive, but I appreciate the sentiment. So I'm going to start at appreciating the sentiment of Black folks. Hopefully, more Black folks will be broken out of the idea that they're going to reform America. Now there's going to be a lot of failure in what that looks like, a lot of failure in ideas about like that kind of like black capitalist vision of like, if we only do this and only do that. And so I think that kind of failure will like hopefully not break people, but make people stronger. So, but I do think that, again, this opportunity to organize straightforwardly, again, like it's happened before, it's happening now. There may be some openings for it. There's going to be many different organizations, but again, it's all about the political project and the ideology. If that person who just spoke, who of course I've never seen before, has capitalist-minded thinking, and they think they're going to do all of that without the capitalists responding to it or the government responding to it or just falling on its face, then they've misunderstood or misrepresented the moment that we're in. So it's not about not having land and resources and alternative models. I think all of that are things that you use and do to even get people to join organizations. But it's got to be part of a political project that's geared towards fighting back, because either way we're going to be fighting, right? If they'll come to destroy a right-wing capitalist project that is Black nationalist, they certainly will also come to destroy a left-wing socialist Black project. So either way, there's going to be some fighting, and it depends on whether or not you're smart enough to understand that you have to be aware of the fact that the reason we're in this condition is not because, again, I said this over the weekend, the reason we're in this condition is because the reason Trump was elected, which is squarely white supremacy, is squarely capitalist economics. And blaming the so-called left for Trump's victory is completely ridiculous. The Trump's victory is based on a white nationalism that has reasserted itself over the last 10 or 15, 20 years, and is now making sort of an apex play for sort of recontrol back of its so-called country in the ways in which it wants to, which means it will kill and destroy all of us in the wake. And there is no liberal protection from that. Liberals do not protect us from that. Liberals basically agree with it or take as much time as possible to sort of like huddle up next to it to get a part of it. And lastly, there is no mass exodus to Africa. 50, 60 million Black people are not transporting themselves back to Africa. There is a Pan-Africanism that means we need to fight with our African sisters and brothers on the continent, but the struggle, individuals may be able to go, people who are in a position, who have some resources, but the majority of the Black masses are trapped in America. And so the majority of the fight for Black folks is here, where those majority people are, hooked up with a freeing Africa and working with African people all around the world.
Plus, Mugabe said to our face, we can't all come anyway. So.
I mean, the system, the political game is rigged over here. Are we going to continue to play the game and try to make it a fair game? Or are we going to realize that it's a rigged game and just get the fuck out the game?
No, but that's why I like, to Kamal's point, the underlying sentiment of we need to organize and have our own agenda makes perfect sense. And then to Kim's point, that should be an agenda item.
Down. It has to be number one on the item. I don't know. I think I guess the spirit of what the young woman is communicating, I agree with. But I think it was just I was repelled by, we need the Black doctors, the Black lawyers, the Black Black CEOs. I'm like, these are the sellouts.
But these are the ones that got money to kind of try to do something.
And they're the ones who are going to be like they're the ones who are not going to do that though. Mm-hmm. They're the ones who are going to say we could ride this out. Yeah. And in fact, if you look at they're the ones who are they don't want an overt Black, because one, they're scared their own wealth is going to be taken away, or where they're going to be targeted and all the rest of it. And so it's not like we can depend on somebody just because they have a certain educational status. There may be some people who may commit class suicide, but for the most part, those folks aren't going to be gathered and again have the ideology that says that you're not going to be capitalism with capitalism. Because that's the thing that's going to make it fall on this first place. So you're just going to, again, exchange exploiters from a white exploiter to a Black exploiter. No one's trying to do that, right? Or people who think they're trying to do that, once they get in that position, they're not going to want to do that either. And those same people who gain power, they're going to gain power for a small minority of Black folks, so that they can, if it got that far even, right? So that they could lord over a large majority of us. Again, the sentiment I concur with in terms of we need to continually figure out ways in which we battle the system. And part of that is organization and unity. But whether or not Black lawyers or doctors or engineers join, and you want some, it's got to be under an ideological practice, which is fighting against a capitalist white supremacist oppressor, not one that thinks those same tools are going to be the things that liberate and free us, because they're not.
Look, the laundering Black rage from Too Black exposes the flaw in the Black Wall Street approach. Louise Story and Ebony Reed's book do further damage to that myth, and also the myth of the Black dollar circulating, the value of Black businesses to Black economic equality. So just within the last year, 2 books have come out that smash all of these myths that people like that should read, and those of us in other spaces should continue to encourage. So just want to throw that out there real quick.
I just feel bad for young people like that young lady who just think that the reason why Black people are in the position that we're in is because we didn't try capitalism hard enough, or we didn't execute it hard. Oh, my parents didn't leave me anything. How was I supposed to build wealth? Well, let's examine why your parents didn't leave you anything. Because they was meanies, or because they didn't have anything to leave you. Why didn't they have anything? Why did your parents and grandparents?
Or like John Hope Bryant said, they didn't get the memo on the dollar.
Lord,
they just didn't get the memo.
Please hold it underwater until it stops moving. Please and thank you. I just can't. I can't. Like, and it makes me sad. It makes me sad.
That gotta be one of the oldest shits I ever heard. Would you get that from your grandma or something?
God. I'm stealing
I never heard it quite like that before. I love it.
Bob Brown my favorite used to be Bob Brown said we got to shotgun that idea, but I'm stealing Kim's right here. This was, you got to hold it under the water till it stops moving.
But there's so many people that think that, young people, older people, like the range of Black folks that believe that we fail at America because we didn't try. We just didn't try. Niggas worked themselves into heart attacks and they didn't try. Niggas worked themselves till they had cancer. They didn't try. Y'all should have invested better. Like, what the fuck? It's like, these are not the solutions.
So the Exodus is not the solution. The getting our own nation within this nation is not the solution.
Well, let me interrupt you there. I don't want to use that frame. What I'm saying to you is, I think, yes, we have to collectively organize, in my opinion, to battle capitalism. And some of that will mean liberated territory. I wouldn't necessarily frame it a nation within a nation. But in my opinion, some of that means that we need to have spaces and institutions that we control that are creating models that, like BRICS, right, are battling capitalism as capitalism exists. But we also need to understand that there's going to be fights. There's going to be the need for militias. There's going to be the need for a lot of shit that's happening, and people have not yet been we don't all comprehend that. We think we can simply turn our back on America and build within, and America's going to leave us alone.
Yeah, like, y'all good. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, do that. Yeah. Just like they did Cuba, just like they did Nicaragua, just like they did in Africa after revolutionary overthrows of imperialism.
Like they did Dr. York.
Well, you said Dr. York. Why do you always say
that?
I'm just saying, I'm just saying, as in having a nation within a nation.
Yeah. There's a lot of examples. But they're never going to leave it alone unless they feel like it's not a threat. Once it's reached a level they feel like it's not a threat and they can do something, and they can actually control it, or it can be something that becomes an abstraction to us, like a Jim Brown, buy black kind of thing. Once it becomes that, then of course they'll leave it alone because it's no threat. It's not going to do anything. But if they see it as something that's a threat, they are prepared. So I just wanted, because again, even the idea of the limitations of nonprofits. Again, the idea that some of these the ways in which people are organizing that we even think of are as not revolutionary, but still the other side thinks of them as threats, right? For various reasons. And so just because we have this limited time, I just want to put this up real quickly. So marching towards violence. So this is basically a right-wing think tank, Capital Research Center, America's investigative think tank, right? It's a right-wing funded think tank that has already put together a list of what it calls pro-terrorist groups. And these are some of the groups that are going to be targeted under this thing. So you have everything from the Al-Awda Project, which is a pro-right to return Palestinian group. You have here All African People's Revolutionary Party listed. I think later you have the Answer Coalition. They have a wide swath: Arab American Network, Black Alliance for Peace, Blacks for Palestine, even groups who many of us think should not be there in terms of their threat. But again, we're in a time period with any Black organizing for unity that's not overtly capitalist driven is a threat. So you have Black Lives Matter groups. You have the Center for Constitutional Rights. You have the Center for Third World Organizing. You have our group, Community Movement Builders, on this list. Right here, Community Movement Builders, Justice for Palestine, CUNY for Palestine. So any and all groups, these are in most of these groups, or a lot of these groups, and they have here listed what their statuses are, whether or not they have no status, if they're a C4 or a C3. So it's not so much that it's an exclusive list of National Lawyers Guild of groups that have particular designations, but they're already making their list of groups that they see that are worthy to go after and to destroy and to criminalize and to terrorize. And I can drop this for people to look at in the chat or whatever. And this has been circulating for a couple of weeks now around sort of this. And this is the type of list that goes to Congress, right-wing Congress people who will now feel empowered to use this for hearings and to present to the Treasury Department, to present to the Justice Department, to present to the FBI. So this is part of a larger plan, right? Again, to be clear to you, that the liberals would not be protecting us from, but would themselves be taking chunks of this to show the right wing that they are doing the business that the right wing wants to happen. So this is not an argument around, oh, if only we had gotten Katmala in. Katmala would have saw this list and said, oh, this is who I should go after. I also will go after them. Remember, that same bill that I talked about had previously already passed the House with overwhelming support from so-called liberal progressive Democrats who didn't want to be seen on the side of supporting terrorism. And it only got stalled in the Senate because they were like, this is too crazy and we're big enough that we can stop this from happening. Will that happen again? I don't know.
Even in the face of such lists, it's amazing. Over the past week, there's been some white supremacists, I would call them either attempted terroristic attacks or outright attacks. There was a white who had white supremacist ideology who was surveilled and apprehended by the FBI. Why? Because he built a drone that he was going to use to blow up the power grid in Nashville, Tennessee. A white. There was a white in Raleigh, North Carolina, who shot up 12 different random houses and cars. For why? Why? Y'all won. What are y'all mad about? The America's going to fall down from the inside as the right wing and Trump's administration focuses on those groups. The domestic terrorism is going to come from the whites, where it always comes from. And what are they going to do when one of these whites actually succeeds in blowing up the power grid of a major American city that actually continues to succeed in mass spree killings of random people? Like, there's nothing to address that. And I know white supremacist terrorist groups are not going to be on Trump's agenda list to target. But it's going to be interesting because nobody from them groups ever tried to blow up no power grid that you just named. However,
I want to see how fast it takes for him to start doing pardons for the people convicted of January 6th.
Immediately. He's guaranteed.
He's already working on it.
Yeah, that part to me is going to be really.
That's the one thing. This dude said, I'm going to get in here and do some things. He ain't fucking playing, yo.
There's an actual right in this country. There's a right wing who mean what they say.
That's
and
right.
there's still no left in this country that's big enough, broad enough, understands politics enough to fight back, as opposed to depending on liberals who are tied to the system.
Welcome to Thug Paradise. Thank you all, remixers, for coming into another day as we get ready to depart on this beautiful Tuesday and come back tomorrow morning with some more Remix Morning Show for y'all. Hit that like button, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and tell a friend to tell a friend. It will be on again tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. We got a bunch of other dope shows that y'all could check out also. Anything before we get out of here, y'all?
Well, now the Ben Norton interview is set up for 8 o'clock tomorrow night right here. Jared and Kamal, Black Liberation Media. So just one more offering, one more reason to support the platform. Just stays getting doper by the day, by the minute, by the hour.
All right.
In the face of repression, we press on.
We press on. With that said, we out of here, y'all. Remix Morning Show. Peace.